This morning, when I was talking in the live stream, and Jennifer C came over and said that she showed her channel to her dad, and that her dad asked her to put my channel up on the big TV, it made me feel strange. Like, how is Millennial Steam, a channel this small, coming into the homes of thousands of people that need to hear this message? That the jobs that are out there are not livable. Today, while I was with Jill, I took one look at her shoes and I rolled my eyes at how dirty and disgusting her shoes are. But then you look up at her and she's a perfect 10 out of 10 little tiny supermodel. And the contrast between extreme beauty and those dirty shoes was, I think towards the end, she's just like, leave my shoes alone. But I don't know. I like shoes. It's been one of my things that I really like. But while we were having the conversation, there's one thing that stuck out to me is that she can't afford to live on her own. She works 6 days a week, and she has to have three roommates to be able to afford her house. To me, that just doesn't seem right. I mean, I know she's really young, but she doesn't deserve to have to work so many days a week in order to scrape by. And I don't know, it just made me feel strange the way the conversation was going. It started out with a huge hug, which I was like, oh my. I've known her for about 4 months now, and she's never hugged me that hard before. Anyhow, so when I meet people that don't have good jobs and they don't have the prospect of getting a good job ever, and the reason this came up was that someone sent me a link to an Aaron Clary video, and I was looking at it, and the first thing that stuck out to me was the title was "There Are No Good Jobs," and that's why I titled this. I mean, if you've been in the job market for a long time, like I have since I was 16, you know that there are certain jobs that are just not accessible to the proletariat. And yesterday, while Mello and I were driving back from the mall, she had the exact same question. We were driving through this neighborhood because for some reason the navigation app wanted us to cut through a neighborhood to get back to where we wanted to get, which was on the other side of the city. And we're driving through this really affluent neighborhood, right? And by that, I mean, these aren't houses that would have been considered rich people houses. But now, in today's economy, with no good jobs and terrible salaries and horrible management, everything about Evil Corp doesn't equal anything good for the working class people. And the more we drove through this neighborhood, the more it felt like something was wrong in society. How can so few people afford homes these days? I mean, my poor immigrant mother who didn't speak English had a home. And I have nothing. I have nothing that a normal adult would have. I have a bad job, a bad house, a used car, and that's going to be the end of me. This is the best that I could do in my life, and I'm still a grade A loser. Like, what happened in society to change society into creating tens of millions of losers? If you're fundamentally unemployed, right? Or, excuse me, functionally unemployed, that means that you're making $20 or less, but at the same time, it goes to show how sad our society is, where even the average person, I'm going to use Mel as the average pro, right? That's about how much she makes. And there's no way that you can afford to live by yourself on $20 an hour. Living by yourself right now, if you're going to take into account the simple equation that rent should be no more than 25% of your income, and the average rent is $2,300 for a one bedroom apartment, that's a tough nut. That's $8,000 a month when the average pro is making $2,000 a month. And you're like, wait a minute, how can my rent be 100% of my income? It's called being rent poor, where you have to work full time to be able to afford to live by yourself. And then you have to have a second job in order to feed yourself and to pay for your car, if you can even afford a car. I mean, there's every time I see a person my own age riding a bike with a backpack on, I think of my entire adult life as being that guy, riding his bike to work because he couldn't afford a car. I mean, even to my current job, it took me 6 months of walking or riding my bike to work every day because I just couldn't afford. I couldn't afford one. Now I was talking to one of the girls from work who started out a few years before I did. Like the entire office dynamic has changed dramatically from when I got there to present day. There's almost no one there that I recognize. The faces change so often that you never really get to see the same people. And also, I know there's been a lot of construction, but it just seems like the place isn't the original place where I started working at anymore. There's so many people that have come and gone, people that are probably going, and then you wonder, it's like if there's no stability, right? There's absolutely no stability in the workforce. Astra from the chat, I mean, every time she gets on and she tells me about how bad her life is, I don't understand what to say. Like the stability that used to be part of working has vanished, and I don't think it's ever coming back. All right, let's get into our opening monologue. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's not you. It's the job market. I did everything they said. I got a degree, worked hard, smiled through it, and still ended up broke, ignored, and exhausted. Every application feels like begging for the chance to be underpaid and micromanaged. And honestly, I'm just tired of pretending like the system makes any sense. I mean, I have to agree with ChatGPT. The system doesn't make any sense. There's no opportunity for people with a certain level of education. The liberal arts majors, they're doomed. There's no way to win other than I was walking back up to my apartment and my neighbor downstairs was he saw that I had beer in my hands and it's like that's the real solution to the to the problem and I said to him it's this is just a coping mechanism. This is what we do to ourselves in order to be able to continue functioning. I consider alcohol to be like a mallet that you hit yourself with in the head repeatedly all night in order to be able to stop thinking. And he, you know what he said to me at the end of this really short conversation is like, I got my lottery ticket. Hopefully, I'll be a millionaire tomorrow. Proletariat, the lottery is not going to save you. I was getting gas Friday. Was it Friday or yesterday? I don't know. I drove a lot this weekend. Like, I put 60 miles on my car in just between Friday and yesterday when I got back to the house. So that's a lot of miles from me. That's like a whole week's worth of driving in just 2 days. But I was at the gas station and I always find it amusing, right? When I see a person who doesn't have a debit card to buy their gas, they actually have to go up to the window, tell the person what pump they're going to get need gas in, and they hand them money. Well, this guy handed the guy, the cashier behind the glass at the gas station, he handed him a $20 bill for gas. And then he handed them another $20 bill for lottery tickets. And again, I looked at this guy's car and I'm like, your car is at least 3 times more expensive than mine. And you look at the car again and you're like, truly, this is the rot that is society. If even that guy has to buy lottery tickets because he sees no way of making it in his hourly job. I mean, I don't know. I like when I first started working for this company, my original manager would buy $50 worth of lottery tickets every Monday morning and sit there religiously with he actually had a special device just to scratch off the scratchers faster. And I watched him for months and months and months every Monday morning talk about how he was going to get lucky. And then 20 minutes later, if he made his money back, that was a good day. But most of the time, he lost money and he kept doing it over and over and over again. That's the way that the proletariat sees the workforce. You keep doing those jobs over and over and over again. You keep going back to those $20 an hour jobs, and they're not leading anywhere. They're not pulling you out of living a miserable life. All right, let's see what ChatGPT's got for us in our talking points today. Most jobs are fake. Entry level means senior, unpaid internship. Corporate recruiters ghost you like a bad Tinder date. It's not about your skills, it's about surviving a rigged system that values appearance, connections, and more than actual work ethic. Every once in a while, I'll be walking through the downtown office, right? And I'll see someone that doesn't look like everyone else, right? A lot of these people in that office, they are very good looking people, tall, thin, but every once in a while, someone doesn't fit the mold. They're a little darker, they're a little shorter, they're a little heavier, and they stand out. And you're just like, I wonder what special skills that person has, because that person's not going to benefit from the halo effect. The, people like that, people who are naturally unattractive, well, it's hard for corporations to separate themselves. The bias against people like that is real. Like, I mean, I remember watching a documentary about how they were submitting applications with the wrong names on them, and it was the exact same resume, except the name sounded different. It wasn't John Smith, right? And John Smith kept getting interviews, but the other person didn't. And I've noticed that throughout my life that sometimes people who look a certain way, they benefit repeatedly, whereas the system punishes you for not fitting the mold of what the office worker should look like. And I'm not certain why we have a society that's this bias against people who, well, didn't benefit from their genetics, right? But they still have to work. And that's what, even when it comes to mental acuity, just because a person has an IQ of 85 doesn't mean they don't need a good job. It's going to be incredibly more difficult for a person with an 85 uh, IQ to get the same job as a person with, let's say, a normal 100 or a person with a 115 IQ. Like, I've met people at work in this field that were very, very, very intelligent people, like really off the chart. But when it came to anything beyond being able to just do their job, you can't have a conversation with these people. They're very, very strange. And they're eccentric in a way that I've never been able to understand. They do crazy things. Like, there was one kid that I used to work with, and he had a server farm in the basement that he built in secret with all the leftover computers where he was mining Bitcoin. And he was doing this for years. I'm going to say while until he graduated. But that was the kind of crazy eccentric things that this kid did. This kid would sit down and just hyper focus on doing one thing. I know it's the autism, and autism is very, very, very common in technology fields because it takes a certain amount of wanting to figure things out in order to be able to do this job. If you're not a person who enjoys figuring things out, this field would never work out for you. And I meet people like that whose personality would never fit in to this particular field. Like today, when I was talking to Jill, Jill's never going to be a technical person. She works in the beauty industry because that's what she can do. In fact, today, while she was she was working on me, I asked her, it's like, are you wearing gloves? And she's like, yeah, I had to because my hands were getting hurt by the chemicals. And I said, okay, that's good. Because that's what I was kind of concerned about is like, are you doing this without wearing gloves? And like, you have to wear gloves in order to work with chemicals. But I'm off on a terrible tangent. Let's get back to talking point number two. We were told to hustle, get degrees, and stay loyal, but loyalty gets you laid off, and education gets you dead. Even so called good jobs barely cover living expenses, and promotions just mean more responsibility without real financial security. My job in a nutshell. More responsibility, more responsibility, more responsibility. That's it. There's not much else there. And yesterday, when I was with Mello, she kind of like she, I knew I'd felt this from her before, but she regrets not going to school, right? She regrets not going to college because not going to college has meant that she's worked in retail her entire adult life. And there are going to be more and more people who end up in that same bottomless pit of the service industry because there are no good jobs. If Mello had gotten a college degree, a liberal arts degree, and gone out into the world, there's a good chance that she would be working the same job, except with $50,000 of student loan money that she owed the university. That is something that can very easily happen. When the first time that I met Jill and I asked her how she got into her particular trade, I asked her if she tried military service, and she said she did, but it was too hard and she couldn't do it. Apparently, she has some sort of like medical issue too. Like in our conversation today, she was trying to come up with a reason why she's not allowed to have shoes, and I'm a shoe person, so anyhow, so yes, many people will go to college, and many people will still fail at life because there just is a lack of good jobs, and just because you you want something really bad, because all of us want stability in our lives. And it's something that's become almost untouchable in our current society. Stability is something that I think most people who are going to work, who are going to be laid off next week, right? There's already a long laundry list of people in America. Every evil corp in America wants to downsize. Every single one of them. Because downsizing means that you have more cash for the people that matter. The more Susie Rottencrotches you fire, the more money you have for the top of the company. And at the end of the day, record profits is what every single evil corp in America does. No record profits. It's like the CEO of what was it? General Motors, I think, said that what's the point of doing business if you're not going to be number one or number two? There's no point in being number three. Either record profits or bust. Because I find it hard to believe that the grocery industry can claim that their profit margins are 3%. There is no way a restaurant or any business runs on profit margins of 3%. What would be the point of running a business just to come out even, right? You're not providing a community service. You're building an evil corporation. And by its very nature, evil corporations need to do what they do: exploit people and pay them next to nothing. That's what they like to do. You are expendable. And for people like at my evil corp, people that have worked there a long time show up one day and your name's on the spreadsheet. All of our names are on the spreadsheet, right? And you come in and suddenly your life is in turmoil because now you don't have a job. Now you don't have anywhere to go during the day. And now you're looking for work in the want ads, and you're looking at what these companies want. They basically want unpaid interns making money for them, and they'll sell it. And this is the thing that kills me about it. They will sell the unpaid internship as you're getting experience for free. And you're like, wait a minute. I'm working, I'm not getting paid, and you're going to call this an internship? It wouldn't surprise me in the future if all jobs became just internships, just like that. My favorite line from Demolition Man. In the future, all restaurants are Taco Bell. Well, what they didn't tell you in that movie is in the future, all workers are Taco Bell workers. There isn't a single person that's out there making real McMoney. Because when you look at your paycheck and you walk into a grocery store, you know something's terribly wrong. Something in the system has gone wrong, belly up. But I only made it to my 2 talking points, so I'm going to close out with my monologue here. There used to be this belief that if you worked hard, something good would come out of it, like stability, dignity, maybe even happiness. But now we're just grinding just to survive, and the only thing we get in return is burnout and bounce checks. So, no, there are no good jobs anymore. But maybe that's our signal to stop chasing broken promises and start building a future where we don't need to be exploited just to live. If no one's coming to save us, then maybe it's time we save each other. That is pretty profound, ChatGPT. We save each other. That's not possible. The proletariat doesn't like proles. The proletariat doesn't like itself. The proletariat doesn't like poor people. And yet it's poor. That's the real crutch of this, is the proles can't rise up against a system because they don't like each other. You know how I mentioned the lottery tickets? Every prole doesn't want to believe that they're screwed. They want to believe that the lottery is going to save them from this hellscape we call Earth. But it's not. And the more we dislike each other for the one thing that we can't help, we don't like poor people because poor people are considered losers. And so now you're stuck in this perpetual cycle of no one wants to help each other and everyone is drowning. And so you have all these people drowning and kicking and screaming in the ocean, but they won't chain together and come together and self-rescue or rescue at all. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys probably next week. You guys are probably going to watch this video at some point in the future, like probably 6 or 7 days after I recorded this.